Welcome to the Pointy End. I'm Keith Sutherland. Today my guest is Rob Stephenson, Head of the Campus at Latrobe University Bendigo. Welcome, Rob.
Thanks, Keith. Good to be here.
Now, lots of things have been happening out at your campus. You're going through a transformation. Tell us about what's going on, because there's terrific stuff, terrific courses, which we'll come to, but what's actually happening there on a redevelopment, all sorts of things are going on.
Yeah, so we did a master plan a couple of years ago, and we engaged with the community, and coming out of that was a new vision to connect much more closely to the community rather than be the ivory
Place
tower
on the hill.
The decision was made that we needed to connect much more closely with the community. That's what the community wanted as well. So part of that is now coming to fruition in the first part of our master plan implementation. So we're building a new busway right through the heart of the campus. And then around that, we're creating a new front door. We're expanding the library by a very significant amount. So it's a new build, taking down an old engineering building, and a great big extension on the library student union area. And we're also building a brand new engineering building down towards the Sharon Street roundabout. So we'll have 3 floors of a new engineering building designed to pick up the civil engineering program, plus our new multidisciplinary engineering program, which started this year. And that was a course we developed working with lots of local industry as looking at needs of local industry and opportunities for the future. And then incorporated into that new engineering building is one of the new state government tech schools, which are not like the tech schools that perhaps you and I think of from a while ago.
Yes, my old days.
But it's about high tech and giving students the opportunity and the aspiration to prepare themselves for jobs for the future. So focused on science, tech, engineering, mathematics, art and design and creativity, to really try and keep kids in those subjects for much longer. So all the secondary students in Bendigo secondary school, so there's about 8,000, will have the opportunity to come through that facility every year, multiple times. And the aim is to keep more of those kids in the STEM subjects through to the end of their school days, and prepare them for the jobs that are coming in 5, 10, 15 years' time. That we know in Bendigo, advanced manufacturing and the high skills jobs are the ones that are going to be here in the future. When we look at some of the stats on the jobs that have disappeared, they're the low skill, unskilled type roles. So it's really important, if we want to have inclusive growth, we want to make sure that we don't have sections of our population who are left behind. We need to make sure that we provide the opportunities and the incentives to keep as many of those kids in school by keeping schools interesting and relevant, and prepare them for the jobs that are coming.
I'll just come back to that one. This is part of the Daniel Andrews platform when he was elected to government, that he wanted to have this tech school, and as you said, there's 10 of them across the state. With that, it's not a full course, it's just they can come and do some extension of time in them. It's not a full-time course. Is that what you're really saying with these core areas that they are interested in, to keep their skills going post senior high schools and things like that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so rather than have a program that's kind of like a trip to the zoo or something like that, the programs will be fully integrated back in their home schools. So the students...
So it's while they're at the, year 12?
From year 7 right through to year 12.
Right,
So they'll do some preparation in their home schools, and they might come in and, say year 7 or 8, come in for a day, and they'll work with other students from perhaps different schools, and they might work on a project that industry has brought to them, looking for a solution. So they'll learn some of those teamwork and project skills and creativity and the sorts of skills that haven't been part of the traditional curriculum. And then after they finish their program there, they'll go back to their schools, and they might continue with those programs. They might continue to video link back into the centre to do lots of things. We've got a curriculum committee doing a lot of work on that at the moment. And that's also working with the schools, the university, Bendigo Kangan Institute, and local industry as well are heavily involved in it through economic development of the city.
Sounds a great idea. The other thing I didn't quite understand, you said a busway through the centre of the campus. how does that work? Is that people coming on public transport, or is it just shifting people from one side to the other? Because that place on the hill is really growing.
So the aim is to incorporate that as one of the bus routes, so that the buses that at the moment in the vicinity of the university, they park around the peripheral streets, and then there's a trek up hills or across the playing fields or wherever. So the aim is to have the buses move through the centre of campus, so there'd be a bus stop right in the heart of the campus.
Okay.
And so it wouldn't be just students, but the buses that go from there to Strath Village and in the vicinity would pass through the centre of campus as part of their bus route.
Okay. I noticed as part of your new works that are happening out there's change rooms, end of trip bike facilities. This is something you're pretty big on, bikes, and I know the City of Greater Bendigo are trying to create new bike paths and encourage people to get fitter, ride to work, walk to work. But bikes up there, that's another great initiative and facility that you're incorporating.
Yeah, so we have lots of students who ride and staff who ride, and we've being Ride to Work Day today, we've had a Ride to Work breakfast out there as well, so that's been well patronised. We think it's part of the change rooms and end-of-trip bike facilities is also presenting an opportunity to use perhaps our sporting fields for more public sport, rather than just a recreation space for the uni. But we certainly have worked with the council through the development of the integrated transport and land use strategy. We're really keen to do what we can to encourage the building of safe bike routes. The bike path along the creek, we'd love to see that extended out further through Spring Gully so that it provides a connection. I think there's a little bit on this end that doesn't quite connect with the train station. So getting all those connections right, we have a very significant number of staff and students come up from Castlemaine now on the morning train. A lot of them keep their bikes in the bike locker at the station and jump on the bike there and ride out to the campus as well. It's a really good connection, and the safer we can make that and the more user-friendly, the better.
And good for our fitness.
Absolutely.
Also noticed that you've introduced a lot of new and interesting and relevant courses, I've got to say. The agribusiness, psychology, honours, nursing and midwifery, all becoming bachelor courses. So this is something, and I say relevant because in the past there's been a lot of courses, but are they really relevant to changing times? So you seem to be meeting some of the needs of our community, and not just our community, way beyond Bendigo area as well.
The agribusiness, we've done a lot of work over the last couple of years talking to agriculture and talking to business about the sorts of skills they need, and what we found was there's quite a gap in I think perhaps the professionalisation and the corporatisation of farms, but also in industries that work with agriculture, that there's a need for accountants, people working in finance and those agriculture related industries to actually have a better understanding of agriculture than they have. So we think there's a real gap in the market where the skills in business and marketing will be really advantageous for people working in the agriculture sector, but people working in finance and business and management areas to have some increased knowledge of agriculture and the sector that surrounds most of regional Victoria, we think is really important, and as a skills gap that was identified.
Following through from that, just had as council candidates talking about Smart City of Bendigo. Is this something that obviously you're involved in with Latrobe University, because you can't have City of Bendigo looking at in isolation to you guys, but is there some courses and areas that you can perhaps be looking at for the future to hope that Bendigo becomes this hub, I should say, for this smart city in the future?
Yeah, look, I think a lot of the smart stuff, some of it's about managing data and big data and how we do that, and I think there's lots of opportunities around IT and perhaps further development of IT programs. I think a lot of the stuff is around health and education, and how do we bring connections between some of the areas that in the past have existed separately. A lot of the as we talk about the smart stuff with energy and power and all those sorts of things. It's about some of the engineering principles, and it's also about handling big data and analytics and how do you bring those together. So we're certainly looking at all those. There's a lot of work being done in health. We think there's some great opportunities around the education and public health and how that connects to active transport, all those sorts of things. I think there's some really exciting opportunities in Bendigo, and we're certainly heavily involved in the smart cities.
Good on you. The other thing I noticed was the Aspire program. What's that one about? I don't quite understand that.
So Aspire is an early entry program we developed. I think this was the third year that it's operated. And what we say to students in schools is that we think ATAR is important, but some of the other things that students, particularly I think regional students, do are in the long run equally as important to what those kids will be as graduates. So we're saying that we'll give extra points and consideration for students who've perhaps been involved in community service, who've been on the SRC, been school captains, been involved with their footy clubs as footy club captain, because we think those skills that students learn in those roles, the learning to talk to people, engage with people, learn to work as part of teams, are really important skills. When students leave as graduates, lots and lots and lots of them will have the same degree when they apply for jobs, but the sorts of skills that employers value are those extra bits. How will they work in a workplace? Are they committed to going that extra mile when it needs to be done? All those other skills that we think are really important as graduates. So we get students to apply and tell us about their service, and with an endorsement from their school, and then we're in a position to make them an offer before they even do their final exams. And we say, you need to get a minimum ATAR, but on the basis that you achieve that ATAR, we've got a spot for you at Latrobe.
Sounds good, and the name Aspire, I think, says it all. Finally, Rob, I think a lot of us in Bendigo don't realise the value of Latrobe University to Bendigo. You are that place on the hill, an academic place of learning and excellence as well, but you are part of the community, and I think people forget that you're involved with the arts. You've got the Visual Arts Centre up in View Street. You're part of the community. You're sponsors of the Writers' Festival. You are really an integral part of how Bendigo, the fabric of Bendigo, works. And I think some of those things are underestimated, particularly with our brand new hospital, the training, the nurses, and all these sorts of things that are growing in the future. So is that something that Latrobe is really seen as important, to work with the City of Greater Bendigo on some of these transport strategies and things like that? Is that part of the strategy and the thinking behind being part of this community? Because it never used to be. It used to be an academic place on the hill, and we were down in town. Now it seems to be that both sides have met in the middle somewhere. Yeah,
look, I think with there's probably a realisation in universities that the engagement with communities shouldn't be just sponsorship and let people use your playing fields or whatever occasionally. It's actually about not just what our staff can contribute by involvement in things like the Writers' Festival or arts festivals or sitting on boards of community organisations, but it's also actually what we get from being involved with the community, that we develop an understanding. And for example, our involvement with the Writers' Festival and the Art Gallery has allowed us to develop some fantastic new subjects which are place-based, can only be offered in Bendigo and Shepparton and Albury-Wodonga, but they're certainly place-based. We bring students in from Melbourne, indeed from all over the place to do those subjects, and our lecturer who created that new subject won a national award for her creativity. So the Minister for Education presented that fairly recently. So some of those opportunities that we have as a university by working more closely with the community are really important to us as well. And the reality is, if we want Bendigo to prosper, that works to all of our advantages, and the only way we do that is by working together, because it's it takes really the whole city to lift the city, and if we want to make sure everyone gets a piece of that, then it's really important to work together and make the most of every opportunity we've got.
Well, Rob, thank you so much for appearing on the Pointy End today. congratulations on all the wonderful things that are happening, the redevelopments, the new programs, the new courses. It's fantastic. And as I said, I think sometimes you are underestimated or undervalued, the great work that you guys do in the community. So thank you for appearing on the program today. Keep up the great work.
Thanks, Keith. It's been great to be here.